Enterprises team and the Missouri Department of Corrections have great things in store for you in the next few days. We are looking forward to a tremendous week of learning, reuniting with old colleagues, and creating new friendships and collaborations. I will begin by introducing our head table guests, starting at my right. Amy Pataluna, Executive Director for the National Correctional Industries Association. Kardell Sims, entrepreneur, author, emerging leader, and our opening session keynote speaker. Jerry Adam, Vice President of Special Accounts and Customer Relations, Nightingale Corporation, and keynote speaker sponsor. Wes Ray, Director of the Wisconsin Bureau of Correctional Enterprises and NCIA President-elect. Trevor Foley, Director of the Missouri Department of Corrections. Ryan Kaufman, Assistant Division Director, Missouri Vocational Enterprises. Ken Wright, Vice President of Sales, Keefe Group and conference sponsor. Rob Green, Executive Director of the American Correctional Association, and Brian Prince, Government Services Manager for 3M and conference sponsor. Now I would ask you to please stand if you are able for the presentation of the colors presented by the Missouri Department of Corrections Honor Guard, followed by the national anthem sung by Charles Glenn. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. What's that? Excuse me, we'll have the national anthem first. Glenn.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight of the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming in the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Now please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! Oh! Ready, wait. Close on leading element. Mark. Forward. Mark.
Thank you again to the Missouri Department of Corrections Honor Guard for being here today, and to Charles Glenn for that wonderful rendition of our national anthem. Please give him another round of applause. You may be seated. I'd like to recognize a few other distinguished guests who are with us here tonight. Annie Herman, who's the Director of the Division of Offender Rehabilitation Services, Carrie Driscoll, Assistant Administrator of the Missouri Vocational Enterprises, and Steve Martin, Assistant Administrator of Missouri Vocational Enterprises. Welcome again to each of you, and thank you for being here with us. I'm very proud of the growth and the resiliency of our organization. If this conference attendance is any indicator, NCIA is more integral than ever to our members' professional development and networking needs. I want to thank my fellow officers and board members for their leadership and professionalism, and also thank each of you, because it's individual contributions from each member that makes NCIA the strong organization that it is. Whether you are writing an article for the magazine, serving as a subject matter expert on a webinar, presenting a workshop, or serving on a committee, remember that it is your contributions that make NCIA the organization that it is. Be proud that you are furthering our collective mission as correctional industries professionals. I hope you all make the most of the conference events over the next few days. Take advantage of top-notch professional development opportunities in the workshops, enjoy networking opportunities with your fellow peers from other states, and visit with our exhibitors and corporate sponsors. Now it's my pleasure to invite Ken Wright from Keefe Group to come to the podium and say a few words on behalf of Keefe Group, our conference sponsor.
Good afternoon. I'd like to echo what Jeremy said and welcome everyone to St. Louis. As many of you know, this is Keefe's national headquarters, and we're very excited to have you all here. We're pleased to share our town for a few days with the many business partners, associates, and friends that are attending this conference. So again, welcome to St. Louis. Hope everyone has a great conference and a great week. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. NCIA is extremely grateful to Keefe Group for their longtime support of NCIA as our conference sponsor. Now I'd like to invite Brian Prince from 3M, our next conference sponsor, to come to the podium.
Hello. On behalf of 3M, we would like to welcome you to St. Louis. 3M has been a longstanding partner with NCIA for many years, and also many of the correctional industries associations here today. We are proud of the great work that each of you do, and we are very grateful for your business. And I would like to thank NCIA, Jeremy and the rest of the board, Missouri Vocational Enterprises, and everyone who has helped plan and organize and make this event and conference possible for us to gather here this week. And we wish you a productive week, and looking forward to talking to each of you more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. We greatly appreciate 3M's outstanding support over the years. Now I'd like to invite Jerry Adam from Nightingale Corporation, our keynote speaker sponsor, to come to the podium.
Well, thank you, Jeremy, and I can't really top the other two, so I'll just keep this short and sweet as well. And I see a lot of new faces here, so welcome everyone. I hope that all of you come out to the exhibit hall and engage with all the vendors here. And we're proud to be sponsors of the correctional industries for many years now, and this is our way of giving back by sponsoring and being supportive of NCIA. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. We greatly appreciate Nightingale's continued support as our keynote speaker sponsor. Now I would like to invite Rob Green, Executive Director of the American Correctional Association, to come to the podium.
Thank you all very much for allowing us to be here and share in your day. So appreciative of the work that you do, how you do it, and the skills that you help people develop that are returning to the streets of our communities. But we're here to celebrate you. We hope you have a wonderful conference, an opportunity to learn, connect with each other, and be present in the moment. Put down that cell phone a little bit. Take some time for incredible conversations with your colleagues that we in too frequently don't get to see each other. Congratulations and thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Rob. We greatly appreciate ACA's support in recognizing that correctional industry's workforce development is essential to successful reentry. It's now my pleasure to invite Ryan Kaufman, Missouri Vocational Enterprises Assistant Division Director, to the podium to offer some remarks.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Missouri and this year's NCIA conference. My name is Ryan Kaufman. As he said, Jeremy just said, I'm honored to be stepping in as the Assistant Division Director responsible for MVE. As someone new to this position, however, not new to the Department of Corrections, I'm excited to learn from you all and share our experiences, collaboration, and the future of correctional industries. Missouri Vocational Enterprises is built upon the belief of meaningful work and skill development and what it can cause, that it can cause a positive impact on our lives. The work that we do across our states doesn't just benefit those in our programs, it strengthens the families, communities, and the workforce. This conference is an incredible opportunity to explore new innovations, continue improving our programs that make the difference. I look forward to meeting many of you and working together to build on the success of correctional industries nationwide. Again, a warm welcome to Missouri. We are glad that you're here and hope you have a productive and inspiring conference. I would like to take a moment to introduce three exceptional individuals. Jeremy introduced them prior to this, but Andy Herman, would you stand up, please? Division of Rehabilitative Services Director, Carrie Driscoll. Thank you. She's the Assistant Administrator of MBE, and Steve Martin, Assistant Administrator of MBE. Thank you to all of you and every member of Correctional Industries who serves with integrity. Thank you for your hard work, sacrifice, and dedication in our vital mission.
Thank you, Ryan. We know how much time, effort goes into hosting the conference. We appreciate your team's efforts. At this time, I'd like to introduce Trevor Foley, Director of the Missouri Department of Corrections. None of this would have been possible without the absolute support of NCIA and Missouri being the host. And just a brief bio on Mr. Foley. He began his career with the department as a budget analyst in January of 2000, had promoted to budget analyst 3 by May of 2001. In August 2008, he accepted a position with the Missouri State Senate as an appropriations analyst, promoting to assistant director of the Senate appropriations staff in July 2015. Foley left the Senate and returned to the Department of Corrections as director of budget and finance in August of 2018. In this role, he was instrumental in securing $175 million in pay raises for Missouri Department of Corrections staff and guided departmental budget priorities through the legislative process. In December 2023, Governor Mike Pearson named Foley acting director of the department. Governor Kehoe nominated Foley for the permanent role as part of his cabinet in 2024. And the Missouri State Senate confirmed Director Foley in February 2025. Director Foley holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Columbia College. Please welcome Director Trevor Foley.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be the not first person to welcome you to St. Louis. I hope you enjoy your time here. This is the National Corrections Industries Association Conference. We are so pleased to see you here and recognize the work you do for our field. Whether you've traveled from near or far, we're honored to have you here, and we're honored to be able to host this event. Missouri Vocational Enterprises is proud to be a leader in this field, and we believe in the power of corrections industries to transform lives. We know that meaningful work opportunities and skill development can reduce recidivism, strengthen communities, and give individuals the tools they need for a successful second chance. The work you do in your states, providing training, instilling work ethic, and creating real-world opportunities makes a lasting impact, not only on the individuals that we serve and teach, not only on the communities that they ultimately release to, but also on the communities within our facilities, where the work that you do also has a huge impact. This conference is about more than policies and best practices. It's about collaboration. It's about learning from each other, innovating together, and continuing to improve the programs that change lives. Over the next few days, I encourage you to engage, ask questions, and share your insights. I hope that you are able to connect with colleagues from across the country and leave this conference feeling inspired and empowered to continue the important work that you do. Missouri is known as the Show Me State, so we're excited to show you what we have to offer, not just in correctional industries, but also in the town, the hospitality, the culture, and our history. So take some time to enjoy some of the local attractions. I highly recommend Italian food on the hill if you like it. Taste some world-famous barbecue and experience the heart of the Midwest. Again, welcome to Missouri, and thank you for the work you do. Let's make this conference one to remember.
Thank you, Mr. Foley, for taking time out of your schedule to be with us here today. We can say on behalf of all correctional industries professionals that it is wonderful to have the support of the secretaries, commissioners, and directors of our nation's Department of Corrections. We truly appreciate you being here and speaking with us today. And now, without further delay, our speaker today is an accomplished entrepreneur, author, and one of the emerging leaders in the fields of reentry. He is the founder of On the Inside Reentry Academy and the driving force behind the On the Inside Empowerment Workshop Tour, which has visited over 20 institutions across 8 states, providing full-day workshops featuring formerly incarcerated and correctional educators. His journey from troubled youth to a beacon of hope for others is a powerful reminder of the potential for change that exists in each and every one of us. Please join me in welcoming Kardell Sims.
I like to come down, give it to people, right? I'm Kardell Sims, founder, owner of On the Inside Reentry Academy, where we believe that reentry starts on the inside of corrections and of self. That's where it starts. Just to give you a little bit, you see the puzzle piece. This reminds me, when dealing with a complex puzzle, sometimes we must take a step back and see the puzzle as a whole instead of fixating on that one piece, right? 2 other things demand that same perspective. Corrections, which we must be seen as a catalyst for transformation and not just for confinement. And then also reentry, where we must see the person and not their past. So on the Inside Reentry Academy, we believe that corrections must be the catalyst for transformation for the person and not continue to focus on confinement for the past. I'm always asked the question, Kardell, what was that moment of truth for you? What made you make that transformation? Was it your children, or did you get tired of going in and out of prison? What was it? And my answer is the United States of America versus Kardell Sims, right? they make you change your mind real quick. So I was standing in the Western District of Missouri, Charles Whitaker Federal Courthouse, me and 37 other defendants. I'm facing conspiracy charges, gang activity, aiding and abetting, murder for hire. And I'm standing there and I'm looking around the courtroom. I see my uncle, my brothers, I see my whole neighborhood. And I ask myself, why do I keep finding myself in these situations? Well, the only answer I came up with was, I keep putting myself in these situations. But the question was, how did I get here? Well, it all started with traumatic experiences between the age of 1 and 17, something we know today as adverse childhood experiences, right? And so I worked hard to get to the feds. I worked hard. I got there. I put a lot of work in to make it there. And so let's take it back. I grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. I'm from Sedalia, Missouri. I grew up in the Anthony Buckner Projects. The court that I grew up on nickname was Killer Court. So that kind of explains to you what was going on in the environment. My mother had me when she was 16 years old. I got an older sister that she had at 13. We lived in that project apartment with my grandmother. Me, my mom and her family, my auntie and her family, my other auntie and my 2 uncles. In that household, I witnessed drug abuse, alcohol abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. By the time I was 16 years old, I was involved in a gang. My mother was on crack, and I was introduced to the justice system. I caught my first case at the Missouri State Fair in a race riot. I caught a first-degree assault and attempted murder. But at this point in time in my life, there was 2 things that I love: basketball, as you can tell from my height, right, and the streets. And so while I was sitting in juvenile detention for 6 months, I had a lot of coaches come speak on my behalf, explaining to the judge and the prosecutor, my father wasn't nowhere in the picture, my mother was strung out on drugs, and they seen potential in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. So they end up convincing the judge to put me on probation. I get probation with a stipulation that I had to graduate high school and put in a foster home. So I go to the first foster home. It was 2 houses right down from where I caught my case at when I went to juvenile detention, so that didn't work. My friends was coming by, sneaking me out. I'm hanging out, I'm running away, and my basketball coach seen that, so he found me another foster home. But my mindset was I was a product of my environment. All I wanted to do was graduate high school so I can go back to the block and to the neighborhood. So I ended up graduating high school, and I go right back to the next day. I'm talking about as soon as I graduated, the next morning, I packed my stuff up, I hopped in the car, and I went right back to the same neighborhood to be with the block. This is what I felt like I knew. This is what I felt like where I belonged. And so, but the problem was I had a basketball scholarship with that as well to go to State Fair Community College right there in town. So now I'm living this double life. In the morning time, I'm going to school, basketball workout, playing basketball. As soon as that's over with, I'm hanging on the block selling drugs. After my first year of school, I catch an assault case. I sit in the county jail for 30 days. Charges get dropped. I figure I lose my scholarship, but the coach didn't take my scholarship. I go back for my second year at State Fair Community College. After my second year, the coach recognized what I was doing. He said, Kardell, you need to get as far away from Sedalia as possible. You need to get up out of here. So I go down to the University of West Georgia to play basketball in Carrollton, Georgia. Let me go back a little bit to Carrollton, Georgia. And while I'm down there, I got the same regimen I was doing in Missouri. Basketball and stuff in the day, and night I'm in the streets. After a year down in Georgia, I catch a misdemeanor marijuana case. I sit in the county jail for a few days. They let me out. I couldn't even tell you what happened with the case because after my senior year, I dropped out of school and I was full-fledged in the streets. I wasn't worried about going to court or nothing like that. 6 months after that, I caught my first drug case, trafficking drugs from Georgia to Missouri. I sat in the Pettis County Jail, the old Pettis County Jail, not the big new one they had, the little small one they had. I sat in the Pettis County Jail for 6 months, and they ended up giving me probation because of my college education. But the thing was, my mindset, before I even got probation, I had this mindset that said, if they offer me probation, I'm going to go through the phases of probation. Because I seen all my big homies go through it. I already knew what the phases of probation looked like. And what that phase meant was, if I dropped 1 dirty, I would go do an outpatient. If I dropped 2 dirties, I would go do 30-day inpatient. Once I got done with that 30-day inpatient, if I dropped another dirty, I would go do a 120-day drug treatment program in the Missouri Department of Corrections. Well, when I got out that 120 drug treatment program, I found myself back in the same neighborhood, same block, same gang. And within 3 months of that, I caught another drug and gun case. My probation gets violated. I get sent to the Missouri Department of Corrections to Mobley Correctional Center. While in Mobley, I'm on the writ going back and forth to court. They keep me in Pettis County because I decided I was going to go to trial. I lose in trial. I get sentenced to 19 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections at 24 years old. When they took me back to the Missouri Department of Corrections, they took me to the Missouri State Penitentiary. And when I walked in there at 24 years old with a 19-year sentence, the first thing I seen in receiving was a sign written in red letters. It said, leave all your hopes and dreams behind. And as I'm moving throughout the Missouri State Penitentiary, I seen this other sign that says, abandon all hope, ye who go beyond this point. That's the sign right there. So at 24 years old with a 19-year sentence, that's what I did. I left all my dreams and hopes behind. I was what we call jailing, gambling, fighting, stabbing, using drugs, basketball. I was at the Missouri State Penitentiary for 1 year before they closed down. They shipped me to Licking, Missouri, South Central Correctional Center. I was one of the first people off the bus that was level 5 in Licking. When I got there, it was a whole unit open with wings because they was filling it up. But the problem was when they was training staff at Licking, they was training for a 2 and 3 type level field camp. But you brought in Supermax to run the prison. So it was wide open. So the first 2 years I was there, it was fighting, stabbings. We was on lockdown. Out of 2 years, I probably was on the yard. We probably was on the yard about 60 days. Because in between that time, we was going on lockdown, stabbing. It was a food strike. It just, a lot was going on. And so after about my 5th year in Licking, a Senate bill passed, Senate Bill number 5, I'll never forget it. It cut down the mandatory minimum time I had on what I had to do, and I was up for immediate parole. But I wasn't doing nothing with my time. I told you all what I was doing. So when I go to parole hearing, it was the fastest parole hearing in history. I ain't making this up. That's what the guard told me. The guard walked me to the room. He went to the restroom. I went in the room. I sat down. They looked at me, looked at the papers, looked at me and said, Mr. Sims, you are part of the problem. You got a few more years with us. What do you think about institutional behavior and drug treatment? My criminal mentality said, yeah, I take the treatment. Why? Because I knew as soon as I get the treatment, the sooner I get out early. So I my level end up dropping, so I go from Licking to Al Gore. While in Al Gore, I get this fantastic job, best job in the prison at the time, at the governor's mansion, making $9 an hour. And so I'm working at the governor's mansion. I love the job so much I didn't want to leave it. They called me for treatment. I go to treatment. I get treatment a year and a half early. I go to treatment, I get out. Same neighborhood, same block, same gang. Within a year and a half, I catch another drug and gun case. My mama's brother's son set me up. I know y'all like, what? Your mama, your cousin. Nah, that's my mama's brother's son, right? He set me up. I get my parole revoked. I go back to the Missouri Department of Corrections with a new case. I do a year and a half on that parole violation. The charges get dropped on the new case because the guy wasn't showing up to court. I get out. I go back to the same neighborhood, same block, same gang, same mission. This time when I get out, we're in the middle of a gang war. Somebody gets shot, some people get killed. They violate my parole for association. I get sent back to the prison for another year and a half. While I'm there, I get hit with a child support case. So when I walk out of prison after that year and a half, I'm on state parole, state probation, and I'm under a federal investigation without even knowing. So I think I'm out there doing my thing for about a year and a half. Before I know it, the federal government come pick me and 37 other people up. They send me to the Charles Whitaker Courthouse, the Western District of Missouri, and I'm standing there. I'm looking at the judge. He looking at me. They hand me the indictment paper. On the indictment paper, it had all this time on there, all these charges, 0 to 20, 5 to 40, 10 to life. None of that caught my attention. The only thing that caught my attention was the top of the paper said, the United States of America versus Kardell Sims. That's what made me ask myself, why did I keep finding myself in these situations? And as I said before, the only answer I came up with was, it was myself. I keep putting myself in that situation. So I made a silent oath to myself. I said that whenever I get out of prison, if I get out, because I didn't know I was going to get out the feds or not, but the time I was facing, if I get released, I will be better than I was standing there that day. So they took me to Bates County, Missouri, in Butler, Missouri, small county jail, no outside rec. All you can do in there is read. I told myself I was going to change, so when they brought the book cart around, I went to grab a hood novel because that's what I'm used to reading when I go to prison, all urban novels. I said, no, you told yourself you was going to change. So I looked for another book, and it was a book called How to Hustle to Win. And in there, I started talking about developing small business, being an entrepreneur. And in that book, I seen where the author wrote more books, Knowledge of Self, Science of Self. So I ordered them books. Before you knew it, I had a reading and note-taking regimen. I read Knowledge of Self, Science of Self, Seed of the Soul, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Contagious, The Alchemy, The Richest Man. I can go on. And not only was I reading, I was taking notes on everything that I was reading. How to Stay Smart goes by Brian Tracy. Conscious, subconscious, superconscious. I'm taking all notes. I did that for 32 months while fighting my case in Bates County. When I went to go get sentenced at the Fed, they gave me 57 months on top of the 32 months that I already just served. They sent me to United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. I walk into Leavenworth. The guy came, looked at my shirt. What are you looking at my shirt for? I need to see your number. 045, you from Kansas City area, you come with us. He said, you need your paperwork. What you mean I need my paperwork? I had to have paperwork to walk to prison because this was a prison that inmates ran the prison. And so the paperwork I needed to show that I ain't tell on nobody, I didn't do nothing to no women, no children. I had my family send that paperwork in, court transcripts. Not only did I have them send that paperwork in, all those notes and stuff that I took for 32 months, I had them send that in as well. And I continued the same regimen while I was in the United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. But the good thing is that they offered programs. See, I knew I didn't have no skills. I knew when I walked out, I needed to have some type of skill, some type of trade to give me a better chance of not coming back to prison. My only goal was not coming back to prison, and I had to do everything I could and whatever it took for me not to come back to prison. So the first program I took was janitorial. I took that for 6 months. I figured, hey, if I can clean toilets inside the prison, I can go outside and start me a business, or if somebody hire me to clean toilets, I can do it out there. After I graduated that class, I took hotel hospitality and lodging. And from there, after a year, I became a certified concierge. So I said, okay, if nothing else fails, I can get out and go work at a hotel. They pay pretty good money. So from that class, I took another class, Serve Safe. Became certified in food preparation and food handling. I said, well, they said if I'll graduate this class, and with this certification, I'll be able to start at assistant manager position in the restaurant. I can do that. And then from there, I started taking adult continuing education classes, entrepreneurship, speaking. I took business education, music education, entrepreneurship. And I was just programming. And then I took this class called Consciousness and Success. In this class, it taught me about vision boards and affirmations. I applied that to the same regimen that I already had. And every morning when I woke up, before my feet hit the ground, I told myself, I am greater than the situation that I'm in. United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. And yeah, I said it, but it took me 6 months until I actually had faith in that. So what I mean is belief is perhaps what we think is the truth, right? Don't mean it's the truth. So I was in a belief phase. I'm telling myself when I wake up, man, you're greater than prison. You're greater than prison. I just didn't buy into it yet. But after about 6 months, I was in faith. Faith is what we know to be the truth. And I knew my attitude, the way that I walk, how I carry myself, I knew I was greater than prison. Now it was all about being the fruition part, coming out and showing that I was, and walking and talking that I was greater than prison. So I was released from the United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. No money, just that vision board that I built while I was incarcerated because I want to see what my life was going to look like once I got released. I knew I was going to be a speaker. I knew I was going to come back and run programs. Why? Because when I was in there, I kept seeing guys coming in and out of federal prison. Man, there's no way you can get off federal paper without coming back. Man, they following me to the grocery store. They done pulled up on me at the gas station and every day, pulling me over everywhere. And I used to tell guys, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to do it and show you how. And on my vision board, I had everything that I need. So when I walked out of prison, I had 4 brown legal folders full of all notes, blueprint, everything to how I was going to be successful, how I was not going to return back to prison. And I had that vision board. They sent me to Springfield, Missouri, sent me to the halfway house. Now, in this personal development phase I was doing in prison, I told myself, I'm not working no factory job. I just told myself, I'm not working no factory job because I knew that every time I went to a factory job when I came out of prison, it didn't fit me. I quit in 1 week, and that quit was just that extra push I needed to jump back into the streets. But when I got to the halfway house, they handed me a list of jobs and a bus pass, and all the jobs was factory. But there was one job on there that wasn't factory. The lowest paying job, the factory job's paying $20, $19, $17. It was a telemarketing job that paid $11 an hour. I took that job. I rode the bus at 5 in the morning. Got there at 7. When I walked in there, I said, man, I'm here to try to get a job. He said, you from the halfway house. I said, yeah, and he gave me some type of funny look, and I'm like, man, what's going on? Like, yeah, they send y'all here all the time. Y'all don't make it. I said, I'll make it. So my daily regimen went like this in the halfway house for 4 months. In the morning time, I catch the bus at 5. I get to the job about 6:45. Every morning at the job, they started, in our meeting, they started out with affirmations, and then each telemarketer started setting goals for themselves. I said, this is where I belong. And so every day for 4 months, 5 in the morning, I get to work at 7, work to 3, get back to the halfway house, 4:30 or 5. While I was incarcerated, a guy came in and was telling me about Amazon. He said, hey, man, you can write your own books and put them on there. It ain't going to cost you nothing. You can sell them and everything. I said, what? I can sell books? So I picked up a writing habit, and I wrote 3 books while I was incarcerated. Passed them around the prison. Let everyone read them. They loved it. I never pulled them back out until I got to the halfway house. When I got to the halfway house, when I got off work, I typed the papers up, typed the book up on the papers to PDF file. The people at the halfway house used to get mad at me, said I was taking up and using all their paper. And I'm like, I got to get this done. And so once I turned it into the PDF file, I turned it into books. But I also had another regimen, so I do that for 2 hours. Once I'm done with that, I started taking online life coaching courses. I went in my notes. I studied it when I was locked up. I knew exactly where to go, what domain to put in there, how much it was going to cost. And I paid for the life coaching courses. So when I walked out the halfway house, I had a vehicle, I had one life coaching diploma, and I had all 3 of those books typed up. And then I went back to Sedalia. But I knew I wasn't going to stay in Sedalia that long because every time I got out of prison and went back to Sedalia, I went right back to the block. Every time I went right back to the block, I went back to prison. So my regimen in Sedalia was, I got a job at Dollar Tree, stocking at 5 in the morning, stocking. 5 in the morning to 10 in the morning. Right beside Dollar Tree was Hibbett Sports. I worked there from 11 to 7. Saved my money up, moved to a different city, Northwest Missouri, got me a job in marketing and promoting. Now this job, it was crazy. I stood in Sam's Club, Home Depots, home and garden shows, car shows, and I would ask over 1,000 people every day, you need any home improvement products? Any home improvement products you need? New windows, new doors? I heard 985 no's. I could tell you was going to say no, seeing you coming my way. I stood right by the exit. So you had to pass me, and I could see you 20 feet away. Yeah, they ain't going to say, yeah, I ain't going to ask them. You can see it, read the body language. But what this job taught me was how to take no's. How to take no's, because in my lifetime, I wasn't used to being told no. So this job taught me that. Then COVID hit. Once COVID hit, we all know what happened when COVID hit. It took that type of work out. Now I got to try to find me a job. Luckily, I surrounded myself with mentors. I called my mentor. He said, man, you writing all these books. You need to write a book about your life. I wrote this book called Inmate to Inspiration. And it took off. And it put me in the field where I belong. Even though I was doing life coaching on the side with my business and working, that book put me in the reentry space because people started reading my story. And in that book, I talk about 3 things that helped me change while I was on the inside. One was I had to challenge my belief because I had a huge belief that I was a product of my environment. And I had to challenge that. And I had to look at that. And I had to start seeing that as people that came from my environment that didn't take the route that I took and they became successful. Next, I had to prioritize what I value because the only thing I value was the streets. Some people say, man, my kids helped me change. My kids didn't help me. I had kids all the time I went to prison, so they didn't help me change. I didn't take them serious. I didn't put them above the streets. So I had to prioritize what I value. It wasn't the streets no more. It was myself, God, family. And then I had to raise expectations for myself. I didn't have no expectations when I got out of prison. Only expectations I had when I was coming out of prison was to go right back to the block. Now, I'm finna go back to the block and get it. That was the only expectations I had for myself. So that book took off. And then my mentor said, you need to start a podcast. So I read about podcasts when I was in prison, but I don't know about really want to start one. I want to talk about. He said, highlight the journey of those reentering the prison and back. Because to me, I never seen nobody come out of prison and didn't go back. Not in my neighborhood, not in my environment. I wasn't the only one that running in and out of prison on my block. My little brother, my cousins, my friend, everybody was running in and out of prison, so I never seen it. So I started the Reentry Journey podcast, and that took off as well. And I started highlighting the journey of those who was walking out of prison and being successful. And success wasn't about a lot of money. It was about not returning to prison again. Some of those journeys, you're going to see someone who walked out of prison, started in the barbershop, and now they built the shoe brand for workers. You're going to see some people on that interview who just got out, they got a regular job, got their 401k, put a down payment, now they own their house, they rebuilt their family, and they living their life. And that podcast did great. But when I wrote the book and I started the podcast, I was still on federal paper. And so I ended up getting off federal paper. Soon as I got off federal paper, someone who bought the book reached out to me and said, we got the first ever formerly incarcerated motivational speaker grant to go back into federal prisons and speak, and we want you to be the speaker. The great thing was they paid. They paid. I got paid $1,200 to go into 10 institutions and speak. And while on the inside, I'm talking with the guys, I'm asking questions, and they said, man, we need programs from people like you who've been through, who actually know the ways. And I started designing on the inside Reentry Academy. I started off with the personal development, using the same things that I did to change my life and implementing them into a program. And so I ended up starting personal development first, but where was I going to start? Well, I got on the Missouri Department of Corrections website and I looked at their bids. They didn't have no reentry bids, but they had an email. I sent the email over with my bio and my program outline, and in 1 week they got back to me and said, we got a prison in St. Joseph where you live at that we would like to have that program in. I got my program in St. Joseph Prison, personal development on the inside, reentry 101. And the program did so good that after the first class, I had enough sign-ups for the next 2.5 years. And I started running that program. And what was different about my program was every month I bring 2 successful, formerly incarcerated people in my class for my students to hear. I'm their instructor, he's one of us, but they don't see a lot of successful people coming out of prison. And so I made that my duty. And the reason why, because I know how the reticular activating system works. And you all do too, you just don't realize it yet. You got a reticular activating. When you all walked in this room, your brain processed 20 billion bits of information. But you got a filtering system that filters that process down to about 20,000 bits of information. Well, how do I know what it's going to keep? It keeps what's relevant to you and what's a threat. It happens like this. Any of y'all ever, your wife, your significant other, or children got a car, and then everywhere you go, you see that type of car? Yeah, that's a reticular active. Reason why it's like that, because someone who's relevant to you got that car. And that's what I did with my class, bringing people in every month. So in my 6-month class, you've seen at least 10 people that was formerly incarcerated who shared their stories and their keys with you. When I built my program, I built the virtual side. Because of COVID, it allowed us to transition from physical to virtual. And when I was meeting with wardens and reentry coordinators, we was meeting through Teams and Zoom. And so I built the virtual side. And someone liked what I was doing in Missouri, out in Arizona, they gave me a call, and we started a virtual side in Arizona prison. Same program. And I was running that program, and then I just woke up one morning and said, I want to take this same field across the country. Not just me. I wanted to take a team of successful formerly incarcerated educators and former correctional educators who lost their job during COVID, who may have started their own business. And we went to 8 different states. We hosted over 20-something full-day empowerment workshops. And we just wasn't there speaking. I told my team, we're not going in there to speak. We're going in there to do some work. And so what we did, on every hour, we hosted a workshop. The first hour was me, goal setting and vision board. When they walked out that workshop, they had a vision board for their life, and they had goals to start that vision, to start manifesting that vision. Then we went to career readiness. Then we went to mental health and wellness. Then we went to entrepreneurship. Then we went to mindset shift. Then we went to, we had connected with all the resources in that area, in that state, and brought them in with us. So now after that, they was able to sit down, get transportation, get signed up for housing, get signed up for mental health if they needed. And when we got done with that tour, I was one of the emerging leaders in the reentry space that everyone was coming after. All because of what I did and what I've done and what I built. And so right now, we currently running programs in Massachusetts, which is an entrepreneurship program, and we still running the same program in Arizona. And what I found out during this phase is one of the key things, I didn't know this, when I was standing in that courtroom making a silent oath to myself, I didn't see the ecosystem that would help me become who I was today. It wasn't one prison, it wasn't one teacher, it was an ecosystem of people and services and resources that helped me become who I was today. And what we focus on the Inside Reentry Academy, first is the self side. Remember I said reentry starts on the inside of corrections and self. And what I developed was what I call the Inside Transformation Framework. And that consists of, number one, mindset reconstruction. Right? Mindset reconstruction is not just about having CBT classes inside the prison. It's also making sure that that institution fosters an environment for that mindset reconstruction to occur. And this is the most crucial. You got to have mindset reconstruction. It's foundational. It's about not seeing things positive, but for those on the inside to see themselves different in their possibilities. And then some mindset reconstruction, we went to purpose discovery. When I read that book, Knowledge of Self, it showed me that I was greater than my charges. I started tapping into my purpose. Then from purpose discovery, we got skills translation. Well, what skills translation? One thing I knew I was a hustler, right? That's what I was, a hustler. So I applied them same skills to my new life. I hustled my way to get into Missouri Department of Corrections, not illegally, but put the work in. So when I say hustle, that means putting the work in. I translated that skill. Not only that, the same skills I used to organize block and moves on the block, I used to organize and build courses. Same mindset. The same knowledge that I know about psychology and was able to manipulate staff when I was incarcerated, I used for motivation. That's skills translation. And then last, vision development. Without a vision, you don't know where you're going. Without a vision, you don't know where you're going. That's why I teach my class. How many of y'all use a GPS to get here? You put the destination in, didn't you? They built the route. That vision is the destination. You start building the routes. That's what I do with my class. And in the process of this, I understood that there was 4 bridges that must be met with my students. Number 1 is the knowledge bridge. And we all play the role. We all pieces to the puzzle to this bridge. The knowledge bridge. For one, corrections have to foster an environment for someone to gain knowledge. Bring in programs. Program has to make the impact. From the knowledge bridge, you have relationship bridge. What type of relationships is getting built for those on the inside? Mentors, right? Mental health therapists. Relationships we want, and then when they get out, connecting them to community organizations to help them prosper. Next is the opportunity bridge. That's workforce development, skills, job training, employment, entrepreneurship programs, giving them opportunities to walk out of prison and not return. And then from there, we got the identity bridge. And a lot of times we never talk about the identity bridge. This is kind of the one that's lost. But that's that transformation of walking out being an inmate to being back a father, to being an employee, to even being a mentor, building your own programs. That's the identity bridge, trying to figure out who you are after incarceration and move on with your life. And these are the 4 bridges that we recognize in our program that must be addressed when we're dealing with corrections and reentry. And some of you all might look at me and say, man, I don't work in corrections. If you got any services, programs, you work in corrections. Don't want to believe it. From commissioners to directors to community organizations, to mental health therapists, to housing, to transportation, all these different areas you in corrections. And we must utilize these build these around the whole, what I call the whole person approach model. And there's 5 things that this recognizes. The physical dimension. And these only work when we all come together as an ecosystem. Each and every one of us, I keep saying that we are pieces to the puzzle. The physical dimension, that's on many different levels. On the inside, in corrections, that's making sure the correctional environment is good, is fostering growth. Housing goes in that physical dimension when they get released. They need to have housing, transportation. That's part of the physical dimension. Next, you got the psychological dimension. That's the mental health. That's the mental health and wellness. That's connecting them to the therapists, connecting them to the mentors, connecting them to those where they need that help at. From the psychological, we go to the social dimension. That's walking out, putting them in support system groups, right? NAAA support groups. And then from the social dimension, you got the economic. That's your workforce development again. That's employees, that's entrepreneurship, financial literacy, things of that nature. And then from there, we got the purpose. What's the purpose? And in our program, our purpose, what we work on is legacy building. If you make the transformation, we believe that you have to be a change agent for transformation. Each one teach one. We lift each other up. You get in the work. Now you're a leader in the space. So we're not just changing lives, we're building leaders to further on the mission, to further on the goal. This is just 3 of my students. The one on the right is Mr. Walker, 31 years in prison. 31 years in prison. We went through the dimensions with him. His physical dimension was him getting out, finding a place to live, sober home. We get him in the sober home. That shuts down. They get audited. It gets shut down. We got to hurry up and find him in another one. Find him another place. Let's look at the psychological part. 31 years in prison. Things is different when you walk out. He gives me a call. Mr. Sims, I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting tired. My anxiety's running. What's going on, Mr. Walker? I'm standing in Walmart, and I don't know how to flush the stool. He's been flushing the stool regularly for 31 years. He didn't know when he got in the Walmart, all he had to do was step away, and it'll flush itself. That's the psychological. Standing in Walmart or standing in the fast food restaurant and ain't going up to the counter and order no more. They got the screen on the side. He doesn't know that. He's fresh out after 31 years. He feel like he's holding the line up. What's going on, Mr. Walker? I'm out to eat and ain't nobody coming to help me. What I'm supposed to do? Where you at, Mr. Walker? Oh, I'm in McDonald's. Oh, there should be a machine over there on the side that you go over there and order. But he don't know nothing about ordering online. 31 years. Right? And so the first year we worked on the psychological for Mr. Walker, getting him prepared to be in the society. The second year we worked on the social side. Mr. Walker, what do you want to be? What you want to do if everything was together? I want to get an electrician. I see all the cars is going to electrician. I don't want to be an electrician. We get him enrolled in electrician school. He's on a college campus. Think about that. Being in prison for 31 years, then getting on the college campus. He doesn't like to be around nobody. He think he got prison, fresh out of prison written on his head. He thinks everyone knows that he just did 31 years. After he goes to that, he graduates there. Now he needs to get into the workforce field. In order to become an electrician, he needed a driver's license. He ain't drove for 31 years. We put him in a driving school. And within 2 months, he gets his driver's license. Now, Mr. Walker is making $55 an hour as an electrician. We got Mr. Balcom in my Arizona class. Been out a year. He sends me motivational. He inspires me in the morning time. He sends me motivational message. He's doing great. His thing, and we all must understand that this is not a one-size-shoe-fits-all. Each person has their own individual reentry plan. What works for him might not be what the next person needs. What works for that person might not be what this person needs. So Mr. Balcom, his thing was his sobriety. So for him, it was getting him out, getting him in a sober living home. During that time, he's become a peer support specialist and got a job as a manager in the same sober living home, and now he's going to school full time as well. The last one is Mr. Ruffino. This was my very first student at St. Joseph Prison. He was in my very first class. Mr. Ruffino was in radiology before prison. I don't know what he went to prison for. I don't get into all that. If you want to be better and don't return to prison, come join my class. I don't care about your case, none of that. That's why I started my program and didn't go through any other program, because I didn't want the program to be based on faith, based off your case, or none of that. If you want to better yourself and don't return to prison again, come get in my class. Mr. Ruffino comes to class. He's been working in restorative justice since he's been in prison, 6 years. You know, in restorative justice, he's going around painting the gym. He's doing vegetation and everything, so he picks up painting. Mr. Sims, when I get out, man, I'm putting on my vision board. I'm going to have a painting company. He put it on there. Mr. Ruffino just got out 2 years ago. Spoke with him last week. He said, Mr. Sims, I don't mean to toot my horn, but, man, I've been out a year and a half. My painting business made $750,000. He done bought employees, new vehicles, after taxes and everything. He profited $200,000. I told him, I'm in the wrong field. We got to get this paint thing going. But this is what I live and wake up every day to do, because I understand we are all pieces of the puzzle. In Arizona, Mr. Walker, that just wasn't me. That was vocational rehab. That was Collab Tech Solutions, who help with disabilities. That was the housing department at the Arizona Department of Correctional Housing. That was all of us working together simultaneously. Not you work with him and then if things go right, I'll work with him. No, that's not how that works. We work on them together. And that's because we are all pieces of the puzzle. Each and every one of us are pieces to the puzzle. You got to play your part. I got to play my part, but we must work together. And when we're talking about bringing this all together, we're talking about changing someone's life, putting someone's world together so they can walk out and be successful as well. And so I'll leave y'all with this story. There was a little kid. He was getting in trouble in school. His father gets home off of work and says, look here, man, I got a call from the school. Your mom already done told me, let me get all your electronics. I want your phone. I want your laptop. I want your gaming system. I even want the gaming chair I got you. I need it all. He said, I want you to put all the electronics in the box, set the chair and the electronics in the dining room. I'll be back. The father goes out to Toys R Us. When he gets to Toys R Us, he says, hey guy, I'm looking for your puzzles. The man says, they in aisle 6. He go down to aisle 6. He runs across his first puzzle. It's a puzzle of a lion, tiger, and a Just want to make sure you're paying attention. Bear, you right? Lion, tiger, and a bear. He said, nah, that's going to be too easy. So he goes down to the next puzzle. It's a prehistoric puzzle. Got that one dinosaur there. What's the name of it? Just want to make sure y'all paying attention. He said, nah, that's going to be too easy. He goes down a few more steps to see a puzzle of the world. He says, oh, yeah, I got him right here. This is the one. It's going to take him a good month to put this together. He grabs the puzzle. He paid for it. He gets back to the house. The son's sitting at the table. They go to chair. They go to electronics in the box. The dad sets the puzzle on the table. He grabs the electronics, puts them in the chair. He pushes the chair into the room. He comes back and says, look, whenever you put this puzzle together, you do it on your time. But whenever you put it together, you'll get your electronics back. Son, he's mad. He gets to ripping the plastic off of the puzzle. He don't want to put no puzzle together. He takes the top off the puzzle, dumps all the pieces out, puts the boxes to the side, and he's just filling on the puzzle. What's on the other side of the puzzle when you're filling it? Cardboard. Just want to make sure you're paying attention. So son's filling on the cardboard, and then he sees on one side of the cardboard, it looked like something that kind of look like a finger. Next thing you know, he's flipping the puzzle over, he sees something that kind of look like an eye. The son's going crazy now. What kind of puzzle is this? He starts putting the puzzle together backwards. After about 3 to 4 hours, the puzzle's put together. He grabs the boxes the puzzles came in, flattens them down, breaks them down, slides them up under the puzzle, flips it over, mats it down. There it is, the world put together. Oh, he's excited now. He ready to get electronics back. Hey, Dad. He run in the room, Dad. I can't get my electronics back. He said, man, you get the electronics back when you're done with the puzzle. He says, I'm done with the puzzle. The dad ain't trying to go for it. He said, you ain't done with it. There's no way you put the puzzle together that fast. He says, no, I'm really done with the puzzle, Dad. He said, look, if I get about this bed and that puzzle ain't done, it's going to be a problem. He says, no, I'm really done with the puzzle. So the dad goes into the dining room, right there on the table. There it is, the world put together. He's excited now. He done pulled out his phone, got to taking pictures. He done went live. Man, my son's the smartest person on the earth. He put this puzzle together in 4 hours. Man, I can't believe it. So when he did all that, he sat back and he asked his son. He said, man, how'd you put that puzzle together so fast? The son said, well, Dad, on the other side of the puzzle, there was a man. When I put the man together, the world came together. And that's what we're doing. We're all pieces to the puzzle, putting someone's world together. Everyone in correction, we should be a catalyst for transformation for the person and not just focus on their confinement for the past. I'm Kardell Sims. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kardell, for your tremendous message of hard work, dedication, and how we're all parts of that puzzle that we can work together to help rebuild lives. I hope you all feel energized and ready to take on a meaningful week of learning and networking in order to better ourselves, our agency, and the incarcerated individuals that we serve. Now please stand for the retirement of colors presented by the Missouri Department of Corrections Honor Guard.
Honor guard, halt. Ready, face. At left, face. Reset, arm. Order, arm. At right, face. Prepare to retrieve the colors. Move. Ready, two. Ready, face. Close on leading element. March. Forward, march.
That concludes our opening session. Thank you for attending. We would like to thank our conference sponsors, Keefe Group and 3M again, as well as our keynote speaker sponsor, Nightingale Corporation, for making this keynote session possible. We'll proceed to the ribbon cutting ceremony in the grand ballroom located on the 4th floor.